put this on. All right, everybody, welcome. We are starting a brand new live cast today. Nice to see you. Let me get rid of my audio there. Wonderful. So Monday afternoon, nice to see you. We're going to be around the world again as usual as we live stream across multiple platforms and channels. We're on Instagram. I'm just going to say hello. You can see two lots of me there if you're on Instagram. My AI cartoon in the background. We're on LinkedIn. Thank you. We are on YouTube. And we're also on Facebook as well. Just confirm that we've been shared out across all of the channels, and that would be amazing. So we are bringing to this live stream the PT Reddit files. The truth is out there, but it's just never in the comments section. And today, we've scoured the internet for a wonderful discussion that we've seen take place between PTs. Around the morality, I love this, in 2026, people have the audacity to discuss morality, charging $250 per session. So I've got the exact case file. We're going to open it in just a minute. And we're going to invite you, if you're listening live, we want you to type into the chat. What do you think? Today's topic, is it immoral to charge $250 per session? So this was a thread in Reddit recently. And as you can imagine, it got multiple comments and discussion points. And I'm going to give you my thoughts and ideas and insights. I just wonder what you think. Tell us what you think. Is it immoral to charge $250 per session? Give us your immediate instinctive thoughts. Type in on Instagram, type in on Facebook. Wherever you are watching this, give me some back on that and I'm going to give you my thoughts. First, the most important thing, never mind the morality of PTs around the world, Orlando Magic, back with a bang yesterday. And I've got a breaking news for everybody listening. I am one of the few people on the planet who can claim to have seen Zion Williamson actually play live. I think that deserves a round of applause. Do we have a round of applause anywhere in the studio? A round of applause that I got to see Zion Williamson live. And he's a big dude. He's a big guy, although he looks like he's lost a few pounds. Is that right? How much has he lost, you reckon?
At least, I want to say
15 to 20 pounds, and he's still a very big dude. But Magic, I go to almost every game I can when I'm back there. Whenever it's on and I can get there, basically I'm there. So Magic yesterday, they smashed the New Orleans Pelicans, which was wonderful. After the game, I got to take my kids into town here in celebration for food. We had a nice little evening in the tavern with my two boys who I took to basketball yesterday. And I topped off Sunday with none other than the Anthony Edwards show in the last 4 minutes last night against Wemby, which was amazing. And I saw a video today of Anthony Edwards, and he said, I don't really care what goes on in the first 3 quarters. He said, just make sure you give me the ball in the last 4 minutes because I can influence the game. And I thought that was... that's pretty cool. He's got some swagger about him, that guy, that's for sure. But he got the last 2 points in the last, I think, 15 seconds last night. Spurs had another attempt at the other end, and Wemby fluffed it. So Anthony Edwards was the guy last night, but he is the guy full stop anyway. So that's what's happening around the sporting world here in Orlando and Planet Paul. But today we're going to talk about immorality of whether or not it's right for a PT to charge. So this is the exact thread. Okay, you ready for this? You guys on Instagram, now I see you, type into the chat, and I want some interaction from you guys. So tell me what your thoughts are on this, wherever you are in the world right now. This is the exact thread that was posted on, we've got some coming in, so keep an eye on this for me, guys, in case I miss it, but we've got Massaged and Move NYC have already commented, which is cool. So hold the thought, but keep the comments coming. I'm going to read you the exact thread that came out on Reddit, and it goes like this. Does anybody else think it's immoral that the ultimate goal of so many physical therapists is to go into private practice and charge £250 or dollars per session? Is therapy becoming luxury for the rich and leaving behind the average person? So that was the comment on Reddit. I've picked Reddit, I'm picking on Reddit because it often, it really highlights because a lot of it's anonymous, right? So I like it because you can actually get a little bit of an insight into people's mindsets or mind weaknesses really is the answer. You know, I often talk about business owners needing mind strength. They always think they need mindset. With mindset is that it gets fixed. Mind strength is something that can grow, but most people are mind weak, right? So this is this person's challenge. So this person shall remain anonymous. Does anybody else think it's immoral that the ultimate goal of so many physical therapists is to go into private practice and charge $250 plus per session? Is therapy becoming luxury for the rich and leaving behind the average person? So I'd love to know what you think. Let me know. Type into the chat. Is it immoral to charge this much money? So what we've got, not necessarily. We as consumers know the price of things, but not the value of things. So if the client can understand the value of what they're getting for $250, then no, it's not immoral. So that's the first comment that I've got. So I would love to know your thoughts on whether or not, you cash PTs out there might be immoral for charging this much money, or is there another way to look at this and to see this? And I think, as I look at this, here's my thoughts. Here's my thoughts on it. It's a bit strong to use the words immoral in this context. I think immoral definitely is a bit strong. The reality is this: anybody that is doing well in life, right? Anytime the conversation of doing well or money comes into it, it's very easy to label somebody in a derogatory way as a result of wanting more or better for themselves. And if you come from a town or you come from a place where the majority are in poverty or they lack, and candidly, the chances are that the majority of people listening or watching this, you probably have come from a place where riches aren't growing on trees, right? Money does grow on trees, as I remind my kids, because that's where paper comes from, obviously, right? But it ain't necessarily all around us, and the majority of the world isn't prospering anywhere at any time. Whatever madness is happening right now in 2026, you go watch some videos or just watch old footage of things in the 60s and 70s. The politicians are pretty much saying the exact same thing in the 60s as they were in 2026. There's every 15 years there's an economy problem. There is a law and order problem. Like, these things are nothing new, right? They just rhyme with each other, basically. And so the challenge for most of us is we don't come from an area or a place or a town where wealth is the norm. We don't come from a place where money is freely available. Most of us have been probably brought up in a family that had to work hard for its money. Possibly the generation before had zero, right? There's a fair and reasonable chance that if you were raised by somebody who was born in the 60s, that you may have been brought up in a little bit of, kind of okay circumstances. Let's just leave it at that. But the scenario was your parents before that were probably raised in homes that couldn't afford heating and generally didn't, just literally had to decide who was eating tonight, right? That's certainly my generation of my grandparents. That was their upbringing. So wealth and money and having just extra cash at the end of the week, that wasn't normal, right? So everybody just had a mindset of focusing in on survival. Now, if you want to break free from that and you want to better yourself and you want more choices and you want to go more places, there's an inevitability to you having to think differently and be different and see yourself differently and, maybe charge differently in your business and have different aspirations. So whenever I see these types of derogatory comments towards people who are doing well, it nearly always goes back to money. And I've had this myself where it's almost impossible to tell somebody that I don't do what I do for money, right? You just can't have the conversation with them. Because I tell them quite bluntly, if I did do it for money, I'd go home at 10 o'clock. I'd be finished for 10. I'd have made enough money to pay my bills, to do what I want to do, and I'd go home. Or I might have even stopped a long time ago. So therefore, there can't be any meaningful reason right now that I'm in business or at work for money. Right now, of course, you absolutely have to get as much of it as you can in business, because if you want great experiences. But for a lot of us who are on the journey, we're just looking for new experiences and we're looking for challenges and we want to grow and we want to contribute. And there's an inevitability to, if you put that effort and that intention, let's call it, into a business, then the outcome is money, right? That's the way the world operates. It rewards people with good intentions, good output, organized, structured, centered and balanced, organized around creativity. These are the things that the world really rewards. And so business is a channel for that to happen. And the likelihood is that you're going to make some good money at the other end of it. But it doesn't mean I'm immoral for wanting to charge $250 or $15,000 for a coaching day. It categorically isn't. It means that's the journey that I'm on as a business owner, as an individual, as a human being who wants to achieve something, do something that the rest of the world candidly might not, right? They're comfortable doing what they do. They might have an identity. And here we go. Here's one that really is your answer. Um, every individual, ultimately the strongest pull in the world ever is your identity. So I'll share with you my story. I've got a hip surgery due on Wednesday. Now, it's an absolute damned inconvenience in my life to have hip surgery on Wednesday. And it's probably wiped me out for a few days, which in my life is a significant chunk of time, right? And even though I'm hoping to be back at work on Thursday after surgery, that's probably my positively naive view of the world. But I could be wiped out for a few days. And then I approach the surgery, which is now 36 hours away. And I think, why am I doing it, right? I'm not in any great pain at this point, not in any agonizing, night after night painkiller kind of inflammation injections kind of pain. I'm not. But what I struggle with is to be able to play sport with my kids. And I struggle to play basketball with my kids. I struggle to go for a game of soccer with my kids, football with my kids. I struggle to keep up with them in a holiday park last summer in Portugal. And that was my final decision that I needed to do it because my identity is attached to being a terrific dad. And I want to be the best dad that I can be. And I don't want to be somebody that watches from the sidelines. I don't want to be somebody that tells them to go be active and sporty and keep fit and all of these things and me not do it with them. So for me to get surgery this week, it's attached to the identity that I have of myself, which is to be the best that I can be. So I'm willing to go through surgery and the inevitable cost of being out of the business and, fatigue and energy that will take a couple of weeks to come back inevitably and time for rehab and recovery and all of those types of things because I want to be a better dad. Or I want to be the best dad that I can be. And to me, that requires me to be mobile and active with kids who are 12, 9, 6, 3, and 6 months. I need to be active and I need to be able to be, to keep up with them, if you like. So the identity pulls me to that surgery on Wednesday, even though every other piece of me doesn't want to do it because it's a damned inconvenience to my life. And I could be at work making money and, whatever else, doing things and just growing the business and bringing people. But because my identity is attached to that, I will do it. Whereas in business, my identity is attached to growth. And if my identity is attached to growth, then inevitably it's going to take me out of a job. It's going to take me past an hourly rate. It's going to take me past the mill-like PT clinic. It's going to take me into a place that allows me to grow, that allows me to impact more people, that allows me to experience new things, meet new people. It's going to do all of this if my identity is somebody that is a learner that wants to grow. And what nearly always will happen is somebody who hasn't got that identity looks at somebody like me, potentially, who wants to grow, who wants to learn, who wants new challenges, who loves the thrill, the excitement of it all. The only way that they can justify how it makes them feel is to bring money into the conversation. And this is what I've learned from most people. They'll always bring money back to the conversation as to being my motivator. Yet nearly always what you find is the people who label you as being motivated by money, they are in fact themselves more motivated by money. And I'll give you an example. In personal development, I suspect I've invested, I have probably close to $1 million in personal development in the last 10 years. In fact, I'm rounding down, never mind rounding up. And somebody would say, well, that's okay, but you can afford it. And I'll say, couldn't at the start. When I chose to invest $300 in a course or £300 on a seminar in London, plus the train ticket, plus the hotel, cost me £1,000. That was probably that was a lot of money to me back then, right? 15 years ago. And that was probably a credit card. Now that £1,000 went towards my development, and somebody else of my age, earning the same money that I made or was making at that point, spent $1,000 on a suit, on a watch, on an upgrade on the alloys, on the rims in their car. So for me, I made a choice to go and invest it because I wanted to learn and I wanted the thrill of growth. It doesn't mean that I'm greedy in any way. It means that I've got an ambition. It means that I'm curious. And as I look at where I've spent my money today, it's because of investing that much money. It's took me on a personal development journey and it's took me on a growth journey. And business allows me to become who I want to be, right? The actual financial aspect of it, it's obviously important, and I'm not saying for 1 second that it isn't, but it's not the only conversation in town. But what you find from people who tell you that it's about money, they are the same people who won't invest in their personal development. They won't give up $100 for fear of losing it. Therefore, for them, it is about money. Their whole life has become about money and holding on to it. Where what you find with an entrepreneur and somebody who's on a growth journey, money is the byproduct of the development, right? Money's the byproduct of the decisions. Money's the byproduct of the excitement, the growth, the challenges, the lessons, the cortisol that they have to live with. So be very, very careful. This would be my message to the community that is listening today. The guys on Reddit, they're always going to try and pull you down, and the guys on Reddit are very insecure, and they're all, and this is the world, by the way, but the majority, and this is what you have to be super careful of. They are incredibly insecure, and their vulnerabilities are exposed when somebody else is making progress. So this therapist, I guarantee, listen to the language. Does anybody else think it's immoral at the ultimate goal, right? I mean, there's a pity party started, if I ever had one. That's I'm disappointed that somebody else is making progress and I'm not. And the only thing that I can attach to it to absolve myself of any guilt is to bring money into it. And that's what people do. That's what they'll do. I had this conversation with a friend recently, and who always brings up money and talks about things and just in the context about how other people live. And I always say to him, I said, I know you won't believe me, but you've got to stop thinking that these business owners are these sports stars. It was a conversation about boxers, that they were only doing it for the money. And I think it was in the conversation about AJ recently, who fought, obviously, Logan Paul. Was it Logan Paul he fought? What was his name? Logan. Was it Logan? Yeah. What's his brother? Oh, Jake, his brother, isn't it? Yeah. So it was in the context of this, and he said, oh, AJ's only doing it for the money. And I said, really? I said, do you genuinely think he's getting in the ring just to get his head smashed up for 50 million? Is that genuinely the only reason he's doing it? He said, yeah, why else would he do it? I said, what about the fact that he's on Netflix on a Friday night and the whole world's tuning in? Right? Like, he's significant. What about the 4 weeks in the build-up to it where he's significant again? What about the cameras that are there? What about the sharing of his videos? What about the comments? What about the fact that he feels alive? What about the fact that he has a purpose, that he feels part of something, that he's having fun, that he's got energy from it? I said to him, does this never enter your head that this is why people do things? Only somebody without money thinks that that's the only reason anybody does anything, right? And now, ironically, my friend is a boxing coach, and I said to him, I said, me and you having a conversation about money, and I mean this respectfully. I said, I can't talk to you about what it's like to get in the ring and get punched because I've never been punched in a ring. So I said, if you telling me that that's what it's like and that's how it feels, and you feel like this and this is what's important, I can't argue with you because I've never been in a ring. I've never got my face smashed up by a boxer, but you have, and you've trained 100+ fighters. So something inside me says, Paul, shut up, stop having an opinion on who's the best boxer and listen to the guy who's a boxing coach who's significantly better coached than you on boxing, right? So Paul, I'm literally talking to myself going, shut up, let him talk about what it's like being in a ring. But what you find is when I come along and I say, it's actually not about money, people with no money tell me that that's not how it works, right? And it's like, well, until you've been there, it's very difficult for you to kind of factually have an opinion on it that would come from any base of merit. If you've been there, you would understand that AJ gets in the ring, not for 50 million, although he will take 50 million. He is doing it because he's bored. He wants a purpose. He wants energy. He wants significance. He wants to feel alive. He wants to feel like he's got a place in the world. And when you watch any of these sports stars retire and then come back, right? Floyd Mayweather's doing it now. The Tyson Fury's doing it now. Tyson Fury's probably worth 250 million. He doesn't need another 30 million, right? But he needs to be on Netflix on a Friday night to feel important and significant. And that's another conversation. So with business owners, it's exactly the same. It's not always about $250 or $300 or $350. That's not making me greedy, because ultimately what I want as a business owner is significant. I want to feel the rush of starting a business. I want to feel important, and I want to create something important. I want to hire people, and I want to help those people have great lives, and I want to help contribute to their mortgages. And I want the energy of waking up every day and know my business is growing and it's thriving, and I'm growing and I'm thriving, and my evolution and development is happening every single day. And until if I'm not doing that, then I don't feel alive, and then inevitably I feel shitty and a worse version of myself, and I end up on Reddit at 10 o'clock at night asking other people on Reddit for their opinions on why other people are being successful. And life isn't that big of a mystery when you really get behind it and you get to see it and understand it. It's a very different path than we've all been told and taught very, very early as kids, because we've all been schooled by people who grew up with parents, and me included. So I'm including myself in this. We've been brought up by people with parents who were brought up, who survived the war and poverty, and like it was just a different world in in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s that you and I experience today. So there's still much the poverty kind of mindset of people. There's still very much the rich are evil and the filthy rich. And if you have, you're lucky and you're blessed and you're born into it. And yet the majority of millionaires are self-made in America this year. I can't remember what the stats were, but the number of self-made millionaires is going up year after year. So there isn't this mystical, you're born into money, silver spoon in your mouth, or like England was in the 1700s, you were born into nobility and you were one of the line of, however many people that was a king or some relation to the king or whatever. And that's where all of this spawned from years and years and years ago, that you were rich in the 1700s. The only way to be lucky because you were born into it. Not so much, right? 1900s come along and you've got to be somebody that's in oil or in the railroads. It's a one in a million. But today in 2026, I'm not so sure, right? And the numbers point that out. But again, your Keir Starmers and AOCs and your Newsoms and all of these guys, they'll never ever tell you that actually there's more and more self-made millionaires happening in the United States every year. What's his name up in Vermont? That dude, Bernie, is it? Could you imagine Bernie Sanders' next political kind of address? I'd like to start by congratulating America for producing more self-made millionaires than ever before. This is not going to go down well, is it? Right? In his flock, right? They ain't going to go, fucking let's all cheer for the self-made millionaires who got off their asses and actually did something. Like that, there has to be an excuse as to why those guys did that. Why so many people have, because they're lucky, because they're greedy, because they're immoral. Like, this is the politicians' view of the world with anybody that's successful. They can't possibly let you believe that you can do it on their own because they exist on your dependence on them. Their entire message is that they will set you up for independence. When you really track back what they do, they make you dependent. And every year, they make you more and more and more dependent upon what it is that they do, in spite of the facts that are out there that tell you that America's producing millionaires at a rate that's never been seen before. And I suspect over the next 5 years, you're going to see that rate double and triple because of AI. And you're probably going to see teenage millionaires who've started some kind of AI thing or AI platform or AI channel, AI businesses, whatever, AI bloody YouTube channels, whatever, AI influencers. You're going to see more and more millionaires set up in America, self-made from nothing, from small towns, crappy towns, from wherever, that traditionally those types of things don't happen. And it's happening more frequently everywhere in the world. And yet nobody will talk about it because it's not cool, is it? Right? It's just easier to talk about what people lack rather than what they do. And so I think for all of you listening in our community, we're here to try and help you kind of see the world a little bit differently, yourself differently, your business differently. These are all of the things that are going on around you, but it doesn't mean that they're true. And it doesn't mean that you have to be influenced by them. You just need a little bit of confidence, a little bit of balls to be able to say, actually, I respect this lady. She's obviously got a problem with herself and her own progress in the world. And if in doubt, people, the minute that somebody feels uncomfortable in themselves and what they've achieved, the only thing that they can do is bring money into it. And they'll say some version of that's okay for you, or that I can't do that because that might work for you and what you do, but it won't work for me. And you can afford a babysitter, but I can't. And it's all right for you, but right. And they come up with all sorts of excuses as to why they can't do anything. And in the end, it's them that's got the problem with money. But what they'll try and do is project it on you and makes you feel pretty shitty. And if you're not careful, you'll accept that and you'll absolve that and you take that on. And all of a sudden you have this dream to build a really cool business, but you back off on it because you're worried about what people think and whether you're moral. I mean, since when the fuck did what I charge in business have anything to do with my morality? What the fuck? How are we even getting to that point in the world that somebody judges me on my charges as a consultant or as a physio or as a healthcare practitioner? Who created that rule that says that I'm immoral for charging that much money, right? I like the comment that we had earlier from New York, which was quite simply, why don't we let the fucking customers decide what they want to pay? It's got nothing to do with being immoral. If somebody wants that type of service, and you know what? I'm all in favor. I have a genuine belief that when you charge higher prices, people feel good about paying them, right? Gucci, anybody? Louis Vuitton, anybody? Does anybody question how the handbag got made, right? How do handbags even get made? Does anybody know? Where does it come from? Where? China, probably, right? Maybe. But what material did they come from? Anybody? Leather. Where does leather come from, right? Where does leather come from? Animals, right? So does anybody sit down and question the skin of the cow that was killed in order to get do they sit down and go, well, I'll go to Zara right? Zara's cows weren't quite as good as Louis Vuitton's cows, right? So don't question me on morality is what I'm getting at, right? Because it's just bullshit. It's all made up. People are not buying things because of what it actually is. They're buying things because of how it makes them feel. And when people walk into Gucci or Louis Vuitton and they proudly stand outside for 15 minutes in the fucking freezing cold in England or the boiling 100-degree heat, right? Let's go to the fucking the outlets of Orlando, right? In May on Labor weekend or Memorial weekend. Let's go see how many people who are standing outside the Gucci shop in a 95-degree heat, 100% humidity for 50 minutes for the prospect of getting inside. Are they doing that for a better handbag, or are they doing that because of how it makes them feel about buying that type of handbag? And it's the exact same reason Natalie will not have a cheap. I'm like, just get a fucking second handbag, right? Let's get one of those knockoff ones when we go to New York or Portugal, right? There's tons of fucking bags, and I walk past them like, that one looks just like yours. That one looks like yours. That one looks like yours. They all fucking look like hers, right? For $50. But she won't have one because it's how it makes her feel knowing that she bought it. So there's an element to Gucci's prices being about how it makes somebody feel. And the higher they are, the more privileged that person, or the more excited that feels about their purchase. And again, none of us are allowed to talk about these things because all we've heard all our lives is it's immoral. If you're rich, you're greedy and you're evil and you were born of nobility and all of this other bullshit, certainly in England. And it's not true. If you want to charge $300, you go charge $300 and make somebody feel good. Personally, I would panic. If I went to see a physio for $75, I would panic. In fact, I wouldn't. It would be one of the benchmarks that I would make. If I called 3 physios and one was $75 and one was $300, I know which one I would feel more confident in giving the money to. The decision to hire that person, I feel significantly better immediately. I pull in my car, driving to that session, feeling better because I feel like I'm going to get something that somebody else can't provide. So I don't think it's immoral whatsoever to charge $250 per session. In fact, I think $250 per session in 2026, I think you'd barely pay your bills, in all honesty, in 2026, charging $250 per session. You're probably starting with a 3 at the front of it before you even get close to what a physical therapist is worth these days, and what they should be, what they should be charging. And the next thing I'd say on it, well, I think I touched this. Whenever somebody says anything like this about money to you, you've always got to remember it exposes their ambition, it exposes their curiosity, and it exposes how they feel about themselves and what they're making in terms of progress in life. Default for anybody lacking in all of those areas is, but you're greedy, and you're doing it because of greed. Failing to understand that a business owner who charges the right amount of money can grow the company, can hire people, can reinvest in growth, and can impact significantly more people than somebody who is cheap and struggles. And candidly, there's people listening to this live, and I'm sure I'm irritating a few of you. You've been stuck charging $75, $100, $125 for 5 years, 6 years. You're still agonizing over hiring your first front desk, for crying out loud, because you can't afford it. You're still arguing with somebody over $1,000 for some ads on Facebook because you can't afford it. You're still whinging about not being able to do follow-up because you can't afford the system. But it's been going on for 5 or 6 years. And the reason it's been going on for 5 or 6 years is because of your prices. Now, the impact that you could have made, you never know, right, is what I'm getting at. You will never know the impact that you could have made if you'd have charged those prices. You could have employed 12 more people. And it's one of the most proudest things that I do is to say that I'm responsible for 40 mortgages every single month. You could have impacted 1,000 more patients every single month as a result of your business's growth. You could have had significantly more life experiences to share with your kids as a result of growth. You could be a significantly more confident individual as a result of growth. So don't tell me it's fucking immoral to not charge higher or to charge higher prices. It's immoral to not charge the prices because it means you can't grow. And if you can't grow, you can't impact people. So stick that one on fucking Reddit, whoever posted this. And my final comment, it's I think it raises the debate, why is it not okay for PTs to follow a different path? Who said that every PT has to follow the same path? Why? Somebody help me with a straight face, and somebody explain to me on Instagram or on LinkedIn here, why is it okay? Why is it not okay for physios to go down a different path? It raises that debate. Why is it not okay for PTs to follow a different path? If I don't want to work in the shit tip hospital system for the next 30 years, I don't want to. And it's got fuck all to do with you, whether or not I want to or not, candidly. And it's got no and nothing to do with anybody who I work with. It's got nothing to do with any other PT. It's got nothing to do with anybody on X who has got a big following, who thinks that everything's about clinical skills and being the best clinician and keeping your head down and you know, giving yourself over for the rest of your life. Like, those people just end up frustrated and they end up quite resentful, and in the end, a life of regrets. So I think, as always, I go back to this, you know, if you're trying to build a better life business, it's about how you feel about yourself. And anybody that's worried about prices, it exposes that they don't feel good about themselves, and they just wrap it up and dress it up in, oh, but you know, I don't want to charge people money and I don't feel right about it, and you know, it's immoral and all of this crap. But their businesses have been stuck for 5 years because they couldn't raise the prices, and then they'll tell us in our company on a sales call that they can't hire a front desk girl or a voice AI for, you know, a measly amount of money relative to the impact it will make on the business, because they won't charge the right prices, because they think it's, for some reason, they're more noble because they're keeping their prices low. But equally, they go home on a night frustrated, unfulfilled. There's no growth. There's no learning. It's the quagmire. It shows up in their relationships. It shows up in energy. It shows up in their experiences in life. And there is no experiences in life because they can't afford it. It shows up in their energy. There is no energy because they're frustrated and they've been stuck for the last 5 years. It shows up everywhere, guys. It's totally up to you what you do. But I can't see any case for keeping your prices low. The fact of the matter is, for me, we should have titled this podcast, it's immoral to charge less than $250. It should be, it is immoral to charge less than $250. Never mind ask the question, is it moral to charge $250? Because no one will grow your business if you're charging less than $250 an hour. If you don't grow your business, you ain't growing yourself, you ain't growing your team, you ain't having a bigger impact, you ain't going home full of energy, you ain't got more stories to tell your kids about life and challenges and dealing with people and shit and crap that comes with running a business that actually makes you a better person, better conversations, better life experiences, more perspective in life. Undoubtedly, you're here to grow, guys, and that's what business gives you a platform to do. So that's my thoughts on today's Reddit file. Is it immoral to charge? What do we got? Anything going on in the comments, guys? Anybody? Any follow up on that? What else have we got going on in chats? $250 is the absolute benchmark at this point. Natalie Harlow has asked me, what do you think in English pounds? For a half an hour session, Natalie, I think you've got to be talking at an absolute bare minimum, £75 minimum. Most of the guys in our community now are pushing 100 for a session, £100 a session. I mean, to give you context, Natalie, I started my business in 2005. Polgar Physio Room started in 2005 in a small little town called Hartlepool. And I was doing £40 a session for 30 minutes 20 years ago. My clinic in the same small town is 75 for a half an hour session these days. So you've got to be looking at getting around about 100, 120 per hour as an output at the minimum to be successful and to be able to grow. And that's what this is about, right? For $40, you can survive. £40 a session, $100 a session, you can survive. You'll do okay. And you'll have a reasonable caseload. You'll have 25 people on the books every week, and you might just be able to afford a part-time front desk gal. But here's who she'll be. It'll be a friend who's doing you a favor. It'll be an auntie that you want to just help out, who just wants to do 12 hours a week because she can pick up some money off the government somewhere, or it just suits her. Everything will be just below the threshold of growing and have a go and build your business. And I hope that's what I get across to you, is that when you play small with your prices, essentially you're accepting inevitability in playing small in life. And you will end up with a classic business of what I've just described. 20 to 25 patients just doing okay. You pay the rent, you pay the bills, you pay the electric, you pay which are all rising, by the way. You pay your insurance, you pay your phone bill, you pay your internet, you pay your web team. And then you think, I want to be able to grow this business. All right, I need a front desk girl. Well, I can't afford one. Okay, I'll have voice AI. Oh, I can't even afford that, even though it's a fraction of the cost. And then you think, well, I need some more leads. And you talk to I guarantee you, people listening to this, you've tried 6 different marketing agencies in the last 12 months, and you haven't done anything with any of them because every price you hear is too expensive. And the penny hasn't dropped that they're all expensive, and it's about time that you were expensive, is what I'm getting at. That's what's at stake here. You're going to accept a life of average and a life of small when, for the sake of raising prices and just dealing with a little bit of inevitable uncomfortableness around it, we could be building something bigger and much better. So I think your benchmark in England, 75 quid at least. In America, at least $250 at least. And in Canada, you're probably looking at 125, 150. Most of the time, somebody comes on a call with us in Canada, they're saying somewhere around about $75 to $90 a session. And yet, some of the guys that we work with are up towards 150, 175. Same in America. They come on a call, 100, 125. There's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can buy. They can't get any help. They haven't got money for marketing. And no matter what we tell them, they just won't do it. They prefer a life of struggle. So that's what I'm thinking. What else have we got? Anything going on in the chat there, Joe? Anything happening? Any more questions coming in for me? So what do you think, guys? Who's in there? Football, physiotherapy, nice to see you. We've got Gemma, we've got Dana, we've got Rappel, we've got active health, physio. We've got next level rehab. We've got Chadwick physio. Nice to see you. Natalie, Nate, Sam, One has joined. Thoughts, comments, questions on today's topic? Is it immoral to charge $150 a session? I will conclude it that it's immoral not to grow, and I will decide, or I would point out that if you are playing within yourself, that there is a level of immorality to that you can't impact as many people as you could. So I think you should be selfish and you should aim to impact as many people as you could, but you're playing in a game called business. And the game of business, the rules of business demand that if you want it to grow, you need to be priced appropriately. And I mean it respectfully for everybody listening. You cannot expect to be successful if you have morality issues around what you charge, or you don't face up to the how do I charge appropriately to allow me to grow rather than survive. And I suspect that that's what most of you are doing. You're surviving, not necessarily growing, and you're in 2026, and many of you will have already spoke to an agency or spoke to a new Google person or considered a new front desk girl, but you get to the price conversation, you can't do it, and your business retreats, and you end up where you were and have been for the last couple of years. And you'll tell yourself that's all right because you keep your prices cheap. So choose wisely. Choose wisely. All right. That's about it for today's show, unless we get any more questions coming in on here. We're going to jump off in just a moment. Yeah, what do we got? What do we got going on?
So, same New York City. Here's the problem. Many people don't appreciate the $75 or $150 or the $250 per session.
All right, so here we go. Now this will turn this into a fun conversation. Here's the problem. Many people don't appreciate the $75 or $150 or $250. So just to confirm, they don't appreciate the price, or they just don't appreciate paying it. I might need a little bit more context there. Many people don't appreciate the $75 or the $150 or the $250 per session. It might be then, I think, from what I'm picking up there, particularly in New York, because I heard this recently in New York, that somebody said to me, they run a clinic in New York, and they said that the problem with New York is rich people don't like spending money. And I said, not true. Everybody loves spending money, right? Newsflash, it's the greatest hobby in the Western world, right? Just go to the fucking mall on a weekend. Of course people like spending money. What they don't like spending money on is the things that they deem accessible to people who make less money than them. So the rich guy doesn't like going into the same facility to get the same service as somebody he deems or she deems to have less money, right? So they don't like spending money on a service that somebody who doesn't have money can equally access. So the problem, what you find here, is that it isn't anything to do with $250, right? Somebody living in Manhattan, I'd like to go out on a limb and say the majority probably could afford $250 within reason, right? What is at stake here is the perception of what I'm getting when I spend it. Now, if I'm offering you a $75 session versus a $50 copay within insurance, there's a very, very good chance that I don't see the value in it, the difference between $50 and $75. You're actually better off saying, hey, we've got an option for $50 and I've also got one for $1,000. The difference between the cheap session and the more expensive session is so big that my brain can't compute that it could ever be the same. And I have to ask the question about what makes it so different. So the challenge that many of you are running into is that your prices are too closely aligned with other services, other healthcare providers in your town, and there's no discernible difference between what you do and what they do, and therefore people are confused. The follow-up is here, the effort the practitioner puts into it. So the problem, people don't appreciate the $75, the $150, or the $200, the effort that the practitioner puts in. I mean, I, I'm not a fan of blaming people for not appreciating what I do, right? Because ultimately it's my job to have people appreciate what we do. And my job is to help people change how they feel about my service. And unbeknown to most in business, we could provide the exact same service, and if we wrap it up differently with a different message and a different meaning and a different feeling attached to it and a different expression, a different level of service on the way in versus on the way out, a different seat that I sit in, a different type of weight room, a different type of experience at the end instead of being rushed out, then I will appreciate your service very, very differently. Where most practitioners go wrong is their practitioner brain designs the service. Their clinical brain designs the waiting room. Their clinical brain designs the patient journey. Their clinical brain designs how the phone gets answered. Their clinical brain is the reason that the business doesn't grow. And they don't have a marketing brain. They don't have a creative brain. They don't apply a creative aspect to their services, to their patient journey, to how they feel about it. And right now, it's not that difficult to do it because there's so much mundane, boring, drab kind of services. Right now, if you can just get somebody to say please and thank you for coming and genuinely mean it and look at you in the eye, like your service is already different. You're already at a level above. Somebody who just cares and wants to talk to you and can look you in the eye and be. These are the basic things. And if I was in New York, like that, they would be the fundamentals, the bedrocks of the business. I'd just look to wrap around the service something different so that it feels different. It feels exclusive. It looks exclusive. The way that the staff dress, the weight room that I stand in, what I'm given before, what I'm given after. You go in Louis Vuitton, and the reason Natalie goes in Louis Vuitton is because she gets to sit down for half an hour with a glass of champagne, right? Before, during, and after. Right? You go in Zara, you ain't getting that, right? You're getting the same leather bag, right? But you're getting a completely different experience. Now, to me, I hate that because I just want to get my stuff and get out, right? I'm not interested in it, but I'm not Louis Vuitton's customer. Like Natalie's Louis Vuitton's customer. She likes the pomp and the razzmatazz around it, so they make her feel special in there, and she appreciates it. So she likes to go back, right? So you offer her a bag somewhere else at the same price. If you don't give her that experience, she ain't going to go and spend the money. So I think there's a lot to be said that the practitioners in our world, we allow practitioners to build the service and design the service with a practitioner brain, not in a what might our ideal client love to experience that changes completely the way that they see what we do and that they value it more and therefore would want to pay more money. Because in the end of it, that's really what it's about. Somebody values our service more as a result of, are you ready for this? Perception. That's it. Go on, we got one more.
Donna Sanderson said,
Where's Donna from?
Donna, where are you from? She just like to, couldn't get it. She said, how do you inform patients about price hikes?
So we don't. So how do we inform patients about price hikes? We don't, is the answer. We certainly don't advertise it on the internet. We don't put it on our website. We don't email it. We don't write to them. We acknowledge when they first call back up that they may not have been in for 6 months or a year, and in which case the prices have rose. And the way I used to do it, if somebody hadn't been in for a year, there was an inevitability to my prices rising. I would tell every customer that hadn't been in that the prices have rose, they've gone up. On this occasion, we'll honor the price that you last paid. As of the next session, you will pay the new price. So we're going to give you a discounted session today, and because of your loyalty, and we thank you for that. And then in the next session, you will pay the new rate. The current clients who are active, you don't raise the prices on them till their care is ended. That's not fair. Now, if you've got somebody on maintenance who comes every week, you give them a rope, or you give them a gap, and you give them a 90-day window in order to accept the new price rise. So if I wanted to raise my prices today, I would tell Sally, who's on a maintenance plan, that come April the 15th, her price will rise. So for the next 90 days, she gets discounted prices because of her loyalty, and we call that a loyalty bonus. And to me, that's a fair and reasonable way to raise prices on every single person. And at the very least thing that you can do as of today, very, very tactical, all of your patient agreements, every single patient agreement that you've got that somebody signs from today, there is a note on it. We reserve the right to raise our prices at least 15% every 12 months, right? So that they know and that they understand that this type of thing happens. I said it, the biggest mistake I ever made in my company was not doing this in 2015. It stops any awkward conversation. That in every terms and agreements, you can clearly see this is what happens if you stay with us past 12 months. We're honest with you, we're open with you, and we tell you at the start that this is how it works. because I don't want to have that conversation with you every 12 months, because you know as well as I do that my staffing costs have gone up, my rent has gone up, my gas bills have gone up. And like, I can't sustain it. If I don't do that after 12 months, then my business is getting less profitable. And I'm not here for that to happen. And I think that's how business owners should have in their mind as well. So Donna's in England. Oh, I think I recognize the name. Yeah. And look, the prices is a spiky subject, but when all is said and done, and I'll leave you, to digest this, wherever you're from, if you can't master raising prices or pricing appropriately, as I call it, you can never run a successful business. And I guarantee you, Donna's every problem that Donna's got, it's because she failed to raise her prices appropriately, charge for the service that she provides. And that meant that she couldn't invest in the long term in Google ads or Facebook ads. That meant that she couldn't risk a workshop going wrong. That meant she couldn't get appropriate staff. That meant she had to have cheap staff on the front desk who cost her a fortune because they didn't answer the phone appropriately. That meant that Donna's still in the treatment room working 35 hours a week in spite of the fact that there's other things going on in the business that's costing her money. Everything links back to two things in business, guys. Wherever you are on your journey with me, whether you're hearing me for the first time or you've heard me 100 times, I will permanently remind you, I'm a permanent reminder service of the facts of business. Then there's two things that will put you out of business. Are you ready? Number one, a failure to select the perfect patient who spends the most money with you easily. Not somebody that you like working with who doesn't see the value in what you do. The perfect patient is the one who responds the most favorably to your offer and spends the most money with you, right? Every one of us has got one of those patients. So if I don't select my ideal client, it means that I'm also dictated to by how much I charge. And those two things in business either dictate the growth of your business or they put you out of business. And the problem for physios is that because we are pain and pain management, and we've all been taught to help everybody and love the world, and we're all trying, and I love all of that, but that rule doesn't work in business. The only thing that works in business is a crystal clear identification who the perfect patient is, and then can I charge enough money to that individual to allow me to grow a profitable business that makes being in business worthwhile. You show me anybody on this Instagram, anybody on LinkedIn, anybody listening to this podcast, anybody in any country, anywhere in the world who violates those two rules, and I'll show you a business owner that is in hell for 20 years. There's lots of debt, lots of frustration, can't work out why 2026, Big Ben struck at midnight, nothing changed the next day, and the business has been in business not 20 years, 1 year, 20 years over, because it's the exact same thing every year. Every single year, the business looks and feels the same because they violate those two principles. And that's before we get into managing staff and team and leadership and cash flow and KPIs and marketing plans. Most businesses are knocked out at that conversation. No clear identification of who the perfect client is, and therefore they can't charge appropriately. I can't charge appropriately. I can't fund growth of the business. Nearly everybody who's stuck in business is priced to be able to pay the basic running costs of the business and just covering those costs for home life, for the business owner to have money at home. The third thing that is needed for the pricing of the business is to reinvest in the business to grow it. There's no other way. Case closed, essentially. So is it immoral to charge $250 a session? I mean, it can be if you want it to be. But what's even more immoral is fucking waking up in 20 years and realizing your business is nothing but debt, frustration. You've missed out on your kids' experiences. You've gone home on a night worrying how you're going to pay your bills, and your kids have come home with smiles and pictures and all sorts of stories about their life at school, and you didn't see any of it, even though it happened right in front of your eyes, because you're too busy worrying about why your business hasn't grown and what that means for you and whether or not that means you're a bad business owner and, are you actually worthwhile being in business? All of this shit's going on in your head all day. Meanwhile, your 5-year-old's coming home from school going, look, mommy, look, daddy, look what I made for you. And you didn't even see it. You took it and you acknowledged it with a little bit of a hug and a kiss, and then you tossed it off because you have to go worry about the debt that the business in. And it's because you won't face up to the prices needed to be charged by the business. Right, what else? Mustafa, here we go. I told you, these Canadians, anything for free in Canada, right? You're the worst out of the lot. I've done this for a decade now. You Canadians are the worst out of the lot when it comes to fucking free shit, right? You want everything for free. Good job, I like you, Mustafa. Come on.
So I tried selling the program for $3,000. Luckily, your insurance covers $1,500, yada yada. But then insurance only covers one session at a time. You can't bill a lump sum of sessions in advance. Not sure if this is just a candidate.
Mustafa, look, I'm not getting into this from a tactical point of view. It's not about whether or not we bill them one session. It's about whether or not the client knows at the start that there is a $3,000 bill coming. That's it. I've changed the perception, and I've said this on this call numerous times. Perception in business is everything. Nobody buys your physical therapy services, Mustafa. They buy the perception of your physical therapy services. And if you don't believe me, when was the last time you booked an airplane ticket, right? Let's go into your emails, go look at the airplane ticket. You didn't book the airplane ticket 3 seconds before it took off. You booked it weeks before. You booked it on the perception that it would take off on the time that you wanted it to, and it would get you to where you wanted it to at the same time. So you bought the perception. When you got on the flight, right, that's the reality. But what we bought was something 2 months ago, 3 months ago, a year ago, was the perception of the flight taking off. So every single customer of every business buys one thing, perception. That is persuaded or influenced or changed by marketing, right? And this is where all roads always lead back to any business owners that's stuck, is to marketing. So what I'm suggesting that you take to a business owner, to your patients, is change the perception of how it's going to work, that $3,000 will be the cost. The insurance will reimburse every other session, but the patient needs to understand that it's going to cost them $3,000 for their outcome. The patient will get billed by insurance for this much, and we'll figure out how to take care of the rest. That's the magic. That's the magic in business. Perception is everything. It's 9/10 of the law in business. Now, whether you survive in business is whether or not you can deliver on the promise, right? That's two different things. One is execution and operational skills and customer service, and the other is marketing and sales. And most businesses fail at the marketing and sales. They've all got wonderfully, good operational businesses that tick boxes and so on, but dreadful at the communication and the marketing level of it. So, got it. So we have Mustafa. I mean, I'm only joking with Canada, by the way. I love Canada. I love Canada. What's the best thing to come out of Canada? Come on, let's have some fun. What's the best thing to come out of Canada? What's the first thing that comes into your head?
Drink.
Drink. I was going to say Labatt's Lager. Yeah. Yeah. What else? Is there any other good things come out of Canada? What's the name of that dude who plays for the OKC? Trey. What's he called? Oh, Shea Alexander. He's from Canada. So I'm going to say I'll start. Labatt's. Shea Alexander. What else is out of Canada? Maple syrup is out of Canada. After that, I'm struggling. Like, is there any? Isn't there a lake? Oh no, what is it? Doesn't Niagara Falls come out of Canada? That makes its way into New York, doesn't it? Yeah, into Buffalo. So we can say the best things to come out of Canada: Niagara Falls, maple syrup, Shea Alexander, and Labatt's Lager. Yeah. What else we got? And Jim Carrey. I was watching the documentary last night. It was called The Four Falls of Buffalo, and it was all about the series. What was interesting, it's worth a watch. There's a guy who, did you know this? There's a guy who misses a kick at the end. It was 10-all, I want to say, and the kicker comes on, and all he had to do was get this fucking ball over the line, and he fluffed it. And you can see it's haunted him for the rest of his life. And it got me thinking last night, how would you deal with that for the rest of your life? You kicked the ball. You didn't have to get into a fight with anybody. You didn't get kicked by anybody. You didn't have to have the arguments, the hustle on the field. All you got to do is come off, kick a fucking ball over the line, and you skew it, which was interesting. So, yeah, I watched that last night, The Four Falls of Buffalo. Right, are we good? Are we done? All right, good call. Well done, everybody. Thank you for joining us. The case is now closed for the immorality of being able to charge $250 per session. Remember, if in doubt, charge more. If in doubt, charge more. And if anybody is judging you, fuck them. That's my response. They are judging their own inability to grow, and you are exposing their growth. Anybody that brings money into a conversation with you is really struggling with their own self-worth at the level of pace of growth that you're achieving. And it's the only way that can latch onto you to bring you back down. It makes you feel shitty. It makes you feel bad. Just don't let them do it. And again, all I'm trying to do here is help you understand life and business a little bit better. But that's one of the things that you're going to have to watch out for. A lot of very poor, and I don't mean financially, people around you. I mean in terms of their self-worth and how they believe in themselves. They're very poor at that. More so than people who do believe in themselves. And you're going to have to watch out for that. Make sure that they don't bring you down. Don't surround yourself with them. As always, you are the sum of the 5 people that you surround yourself with, and if you're in business, you might as well make it a success. You might as well get everything you can out of it. You've started it. Why would you stop at this point wherever you are right now? And the easiest way to do it is be around successful people, and that's what the Planet Paul community is about. It's for a decade now. We're into year 11. For a decade, we've been bringing people together from around the world, and that's what I'm very, very proud of as we continue to grow and evolve the Planet Paul community. Oh, Bill Shatner. We've got another one here. Bill Shatner is Canadian, so we can add that to the list. So we've got Bill Shatner, Shea Alexander. Oh, Kevin O'Leary, he's Canadian as well. I like Kevin O'Leary. He actually taught me those things. I interviewed him for a PPM Live a few years back, and he told me, I always get 1 hour with the speakers before, and I always ask them some business questions. And I said, tell me what's the most important thing in a business? And he said, the selection of your client, and that ultimately dictates what you can charge. And if you haven't selected your client, and you're never going to be able to charge the level to make the money that being in business is actually worthwhile. So, all right. So good luck to everybody. Thank you. We're going to be back tomorrow with another Coffee with Goffey is back tomorrow, I think. Is that right? So Coffee with Goffey is back tomorrow. That is your chance to shine. Your questions tomorrow. What time are we on tomorrow? 2 o'clock? 2 o'clock tomorrow. Coffee with Goffey is back for another live broadcast. This will be up on the podcast for you to listen to, as always. If you want advanced notification of when the next one is, we do that on Instagram at the Paul Goff. Head over there, follow me on there. You'll get advanced notification, and that's where you can post your question for the global live video stream that will take place. Coffee with Goffey. Coming up in the next few weeks, I've got a big announcement for those of you who are in Los Angeles, California area. We're coming to see you in May. That's all I'm going to say at this point, but we have a huge event happening in California in May. So park that. I'll tell you more about that over the next few weeks on this show. All right, thanks. As always, like I said, what we're trying to do is just bring a little bit of common sense to the PT profession. It isn't awash with commercial sense, shall we say, and I mean that respectfully. And the show is dedicated to helping you just understand some of the stupid shit that's happening around the world, some of the things that you're dealing with that you probably intuitively know are stupid, but you might just need somebody else to confirm that there's some stupid people around that are doing stupid things. And we're trying to help you just not just with your business, but your life and where you need to be and what decisions you need to make over the next 3 to 5 years to get the type of life that you want. Because sure enough, 10 years comes around very, very quickly. It's stunning what you can achieve in 10 years if you put your mind to it. All right. Thank you for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you real soon. Cheers, guys.